Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of AACRAO's Credential Chats. And we have a special episode for you this week talking about scale. And really excited to be joined by Marla Gunasegaram. She is the statewide learning technology strategist with California State University, Office of the Chancellor. Marla, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Noah. It's really great to be here.
And just before we dive in, I mean, what kind of scale are we talking about? And when we just, if you just kind of want to situate us of just where you are in the university system.
Yeah, sure. Great. So the California State University, it is the largest four-year public university system in the United States, with 23 universities serving over 460,000 students and 63,000 faculty and staff.
And that is enormous. And so I imagine as the statewide learning technology strategist, you've been doing some strategizing about just what it looks like to achieve scale. So maybe just to kind of level set the conversation, what has been the strategy that you've been trying to figure out and how to go about this?
Right. So I'll just say it's system-wide. So system-wide at the CSU learning technology strategist. So statewide would be the full state, the community colleges, the CSUs, and the UC. So I just want to make sure everybody understands this is the system-wide for the CSU. And so, we have some big plans. We have a implementation plan, which I'll talk about a little bit later, about embedding industry recognized credentials into faculty, professional development, continuing education, professional development, and student academic courses. But what I did want to talk about a little bit before that is one of the reasons why we are positioned to actually start this kind of implementation plan. And that is because what we have is a system-wide instance of Canvas with the Canvas credentials integration. So each of our 23 campuses, like it is in higher ed, I would say, in most cases, each campus has its own LMS. I know there are some that are smaller systems, so maybe you're a small system with 5 campuses, you might have one LMS. So in this case, with our 23 campuses, they each, and they're large, these universities, they have their own LMS. But this system-wide instance of Canvas is different. It is hosted out of the Chancellor's office. And basically, it allows for anyone in our system to enter and to take professional development courses. So any one of those 460,000 students and 63,000 faculty and staff. So right now we are using it for professional development for faculty and staff. We just recently launched a student course in there as well for professional development for them. So we are growing, but it did start with the faculty professional development. And then I can also give you some examples of those courses as well that are in there.
Yeah, I would love to hear some of those, especially because I know you recently posted on LinkedIn, that you're, in credentialing faculty and staff, also, helping them learn about credentialing and to be credentialed for learning about credentialing at the risk of getting overly meta here.
Yes. So, so what I'll say is we started this system-wide instance of Canvas because we needed a way to scale professional development right across our 23 campuses. Each of our campuses, they were doing their own thing. They all have their own professional development. But what we started talking about was how can we scale this so we're developing it in one place, and then faculty and staff across our 23 campuses can come in and take those classes together, right? So now they're collaborating. They're not just with their own faculty at their campus. So we have some core courses that are in the system-wide instance. They are called quality learning and teaching courses. They teach faculty how to teach online, right? So we have an intro course and an advanced course. Then we have a, how to review a course to make sure it is, I'm sure I'm going to say this right, but quality, you are providing quality teaching and learning, right? So there's reviewers that will come and take your course. So it started that way. And the faculty came in from across the CSU and they started taking these courses. And then they went back to their campus and they said, hey, I was just in a course with other faculty across the CSU. And they didn't know that this could happen, right? Because they're pretty locked into their own campuses. And so some of them were developing professional development at their own campuses. And they said, well, how can I share this with everybody? Or they were talking to other campuses and say, hey, I want to take that course you developed on advancing inclusive mentoring, or I want to take that course that you've developed on faculty formative feedback, or I want to take that course on artificial intelligence that you've developed at your campus. So they come to us and they say, how do we give access to everybody? And so that's kind of how this whole thing started. It just kind of grew. And so we kept saying, yes, sure, let's put your course in here. Let's invite people. Let's see how it works. So that's really where the whole thing started, and how, I don't know. I mean, I think it was kind of this homegrown thing, right? And people were coming to us, and then we got to share, and these faculty were really proud. I mean, you would be really proud to share the work that you're doing across the whole system amongst your peers, right? So it was actually kind of an exciting time when we started doing this.
Well, and I'm wondering if just from a change management perspective, that there's two things I kind of hear. One is that um, this doesn't have to be all new things, that there's, opportunities when we think about micro-credentials on our campus to lean on things that we're already doing, that you may have a micro-credential, already in the can. It's just not yet called a micro-credential. And another thing that I'm kind of hearing is, you know, goes hand in hand with that is like, yeah, there's badges at the end, but like, let's not make it about the badges. That the badges are a nice thing, but they're not the thing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think the thing is sharing and collaborating. I think that ended up being really the biggest draw in this. But yes, because we do have the Canvas credentials integration with the system-wide Canvas, we can give you a digital badge or a micro-credential at the end that you can share, right? And then, of course, more faculty hear about it. They come to us and say, hey, I saw so-and-so, earn this badge, or I saw so-and-so had a course in your Canvas instance. How do I do this? How do I get faculty across the CSU to come together and collaborate? Because together we're stronger.
I love that so much. And I guess that also hits on another kind of change management piece of the ability to leverage what we're doing as a socialization and maybe even marketing tool.
Yes. Oh, definitely. Yes. We actually have faculty learning communities in there. So it's not always just a course, right? You have people coming together, communities of practice coming into the system-wide instance. And some of those are actually also given a digital badge if you've been a member of that community of practice.
And, doing this across and for and with so many, constituencies there, over 2 dozen, campuses. Are there any kind of quick lessons learned or best practices that you've stumbled upon that are worth sharing?
Yes, I think one of the things we learned pretty quickly is because a lot of people did come to us. Obviously, they came to us because we had this instance and they wanted to share broadly, but they also came to us because they wanted a badge, right? They did want a badge. And what we learned pretty quickly is that people were coming to us and say, well, I want a badge for this. And so what we ended up creating was, well, first we said, should it be badged, right? Just because you want a badge, should it be badged? And then if it should be, then okay, then let's talk about what that description is, what that earning criteria is, and what those skills are, right? And so because they're not thinking about this, they're thinking about, oh, cool, right? I can have a class and I can issue a badge. And we're saying, yes, it is really cool, but let's talk about whether it's worth badging or not. And so that's actually another thing that came out of this was then faculty learned to think in those terms, right? They had to actually sit down. Well, what is the earning criteria for this course that I am teaching, right? What is the description and what are the skills? Because I don't think that's something a lot of people think about, but what are the skills that the person is going to come away with once they've taken this course and been issued that badge?
And I think that is such a powerful piece of this is, here's this amazing content you have, and without changing anything of the content itself and what you're excited to teach, we can also surface and do some storytelling about the learning outcomes, about the earning criteria, about the skills and competencies that the credential is credential lean. Has that been a place for pushback, or has that been a place where you're finding people are kind of excited of that maybe different way of thinking?
Yeah, no pushback. I think a lot of it is new to the faculty that come to us, right? Sometimes they don't even know that they can issue a badge with their course. So when they fill out the course request form, we ask them, will you be issuing a digital credential? So we have yes, no, and unsure, right? So the unsure people are like, so what does that actually mean? So yeah, yeah, it's been fun, to watch them learn as well as this at the same time we're learning. So
Yeah, and that's such an opportunity to let
Mhm.
them start as learners before, they get into the issuing
Mhm.
side of things as well.
Mhm.
You did mention about industry recognized, and maybe even industry developed credentialing being embedded. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we were fortunate earlier this year to have been selected as a part of the National Association of Higher Education Systems, NASH, Google Micro-Credential Community of Practice. And so what that means is we were given a set of licenses for the Google Career Certificates and the Google AI courses. And with that, we were tasked with how do we teach the system what these are, and then how do we utilize them within our system? And so whether that means putting them in our faculty development, putting them in our professional continuing education courses, integrating them with our student academic courses. So what I kind of did was I thought about how can I kind of hit on all three of those and take these licenses and do that. And so because we have this system-wide instance of Canvas and we have faculty coming into it already for professional development, I decided to kind of do this little three-phase plan where in that first phase, we decided to embed one of those Google courses, the prompting essentials. So there's an AI essentials and a prompting essentials. I worked with a faculty member who created one of our courses that we teach out of the Chancellor's office called AI Tools for Teaching and Learning. And I said, hey, let's see if we can embed this Google credential in your course. And so she looked at her course, she looked at her learning criteria, she looked at the learning criteria and earning criteria of the Google micro-credentials. She's like, I can embed this in module 4. And so what we're doing is we're going to actually use the LTI integration and embed that Google course into her Canvas course. And so once that student, which is a faculty member, comes to take her course, they actually also end up taking this shorter Google course, and it'll pass the grade back that they've completed it. So now not only did they get the badge for taking the course that she's created, that's issued out of our system-wide instance, they also get this industry recognized Google AI prompting certification as well. So that was one of the first pieces. And one of the reasons we wanted to do that is to show faculty that something like this can be done. So they're going to come take our course, they're going to go back to their campus, right? And they're going to say, hey, I took this course and I earned the certification. Can we do this here for our students? So that was sort of one of the reasons why I thought that would be a good place to start. And then the second part of it to really, because we want to get these courses into the hands of the students ultimately, because they're career certificates, right? They're industry recognized. So if you're going out to apply for a job, they're really going to recognize this Google data analytics course or this project management course or cybersecurity. Like, these are the handful of courses that we were given access to. So the second part of this was to work. I chose 3 campuses because that's what we could manage, but take 3 of our campuses and 3 faculty members who are excited about it, give them a set of licenses and say, why don't you embed these in your course? Or do you want to? And of course, they wanted to. And so they took them, or they're going to take them and embed them in their course. One is a information systems course, one is a sociology course, and one is actually an AI course. And so they're going to embed those in their course and either require their students to take that course alongside their course or give it as extra credit or optional or to replace a module. So that was one of the ways that we could test that out. And then I could work with the faculty later and say, how did it go? Was it too much for the student? Because they're taking a full course, right? So
Sure. Yeah,
yeah.
and yeah, I know we're just at time, but I have to ask one quick
Oh,
follow-up
sorry.
question that is, it sounds, I think I could imagine a lot of situations where there might be some friction with embedding things that are not accredited, things from outside of the university. And it sounds like at the California State system that you are at the California State University, that you are sort of approach it more almost like, hey, we have textbooks that we didn't author, that this is more of a content thing, and we're still doing our own assessment. This is
Mhm.
almost I don't know, I grew up on Captain Planet and just thinking about, their powers combined. And so does that kind of rhyme with how things are being received and the openness to it?
Yeah, I mean, I think so right now, right? It's really early, but it's optional. All of this is optional, right? We're not saying it's replacing anything. We're just introducing the concept. So that faculty member is going to decide whether or not, it should replace something in the course, but they're going to make sure that it actually meets and matches the learning and earning criteria that they're already teaching in the course.
Well, Marla, thank you so much for taking the time to share your journey on this with us. Really appreciate you. She is Marla Gunasegaram at California State University, Office of the Chancellor. Really appreciate you sharing with us.
Yeah, thanks so much, Noah. It was great being here.
Absolutely. Have a badge-worthy week, everybody.